What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Turf Talk. We are back here on our Thursday night regular schedule. Regular hosts of Turf
Yes,
Talk as
sir.
well. The originals back here. We've been mixing it up the last two episodes. So Sunday we didn't have Mead here, and then Thursday, of course, Dylan was at the Eagles and Bucks game. So
Should have saved my
happy to
money.
be back here with my co-host, my official co-host. As you guys know, be sure you're following, subscribing to DSM Media. If you aren't following us on Twitter, it is at DSM_media. Make sure you're tapped in there. That's where we release a lot of our notifications of content, giveaways, all types of stuff going on there. And of course, you can find the link tree right in the bio. You'll be able to find us on all the social media platforms, all the podcast platforms, and then, of course, our merch site. We got a bunch of merch up on that site right now, and it's just going to keep coming, guys. As you guys know, we have partnered with Manscaped. We are happy to be officially partnered with Manscaped. Let me go ahead and dive right into it. DSM Media is brought to you by Manscaped, who is the best in men's below-the-waist grooming. Manscaped offers precision-engineered tools for your family jewels. Manscaped just launched their fourth-generation trimmer, the Lawnmower 4.0. You heard that right, the 4.0. Join over 2 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped with this exclusive offer for you. 20% off and free worldwide shipping with the code DSM at manscaped.com. Manscaped engineered the ultimate groin and body trimmer by focusing on intelligent functionality and an incredibly comfortable grooming experience. Their fourth generation trimmer features a cutting edge ceramic blade to reduce grooming accidents thanks to their advanced skin safe technology. This upgraded trimmer includes a multi-function on and off switch that can engage a travel lock. It also gives you the ability to turn the 4000K LED spotlight on and off when needed for a more precise shave. And did I mention the wireless charging? The new wireless charging system uses electromagnetic induction, which can help battery length last longer. Get 20% off and free shipping with the code DSM at manscaped.com. That's 20% off and free shipping at manscaped.com using the code DSM. Unlock your confidence and always use the right tools for the job with Manscaped. Your balls will certainly thank you. Shout out to Manscaped. You guys can find them on Twitter at Manscaped. And of course, I do have to plug my co-host here at DylanJD98 on Twitter. You can find me on Twitter at Scotty Drown. Dylan, what's up, my man? I'm happy to be back on here with you.
What's going on? It feels like it's been forever since we did a Turf Talk episode together. You mentioned it earlier. Last Thursday, I was at the Bucks Eagles game. This past Sunday, you were at you were in Maryland or recovering from a Maryland trip.
Had a baby shower that included 3 kegs. So I was recovering a bit. I didn't want to force anything, and we had plenty of our DSM guys able to go. So
I'll blame the host of that party for having my co-host out that Sunday. So yeah, it's been over 10 days since we've done a show together. I feel like it's been a while. A lot has happened in the world of the NFL. And I can't wait to chop it up. It was a pretty exciting week 6. A lot of stuff went on. I feel like we found a decent amount out about some of what, we view as the true contenders so far in each conference are. And that's what we'll get to start off tonight's show.
Yeah, of course. So what we'll first get into, obviously we want to dig into a little bit of what happened in week 6, starting with the Bills-Titans recap, the Monday Night Football nail biter, came down to the last moments of the game. I guess let's dive right into that game. Dylan, any initial takeaways from that game? Obviously, Derrick Henry's ridiculous, but aside from that,
I didn't love the game plan of the Buffalo Bills and Sean McDermott. I don't know exactly what they were doing. There was a lot of short yardage type of design plays, a lot of Nick Sirianni textbook play call night from the Buffalo Bills. Josh Allen has one of, if not the best arm in the entire National Football League. They are a high-powered offense, And the Titans do not have a very talented group defensively. And you kind of just tried to dink and dunk your way up and down the field. And the Titans were all over it for a large portion of the game. Even when the Bills would get up, it never felt like they got enough breathing room against Tennessee. And at the end of the day, like you said, Derrick Henry comes alive, punches it across the pylon 3 times on Monday night, and that was it. I also hated the fourth down call. Now I'm a little bit more biased because I had a parlay ruined by Zach Moss needing 25 yards and he finished with 24. And then Josh Allen slipped trying to go for the 4th and 1 pickup. But that was my biggest takeaway. I don't know what the Bills are trying to do. They could have, I think, in my opinion, very easily moved the ball up and down the field against the Tennessee Titans defense, and they just chose not to.
Yeah, and I agree with you. It was a very odd game plan. In most senses, you want to see Josh Allen stretch the field, really attack that defense that has been really weak, throughout this season. And they kind of allowed them to, be comfortable, right? Like that was just kind of odd to me. Again, I'm drinking the light sky blue moon. So I'm trying to be, physically better to myself. 95 calories. But it tastes pretty good. It's got a little orange kick to it. It is a beer. It is not a seltzer. I don't do the seltzers. Just wanted to follow up again on that, but no. Ultimately, my takeaway, I guess, was on the other side as well. The Titans, that was a signature win for their season this season so far. And with them trying to keep up, well, I shouldn't say keep up. They are leading the division. But with them, with the Colts kind of waking up recently, they're right on the coattails. That division is not very widespread, and the Colts have looked very good the last 2 weeks. Mind you, it was the Texans. But they played the Ravens the week before that, I believe, and they took the Ravens to the wire, which we will get into the Ravens a little bit later. But the Titans, that was a signature win. My only concern coming out of there is that, there was like these, little whispers at the beginning of the season of Ryan Tannehill, like MVP candidate. And he is not fit. In fact, it's Derrick Henry is the MVP candidate in reality. But Ryan Tannehill is going to have to step up at some point in this season. And then the other thing is Julio can't seem to stay healthy once again this season. So those are two things that I'm kind of keeping my eye on with that offense. They're going to rely on their offense throughout this season. Their defense is not that good. So I don't expect them to just turn it up at some point. Their offense is going to be the calling card for Tennessee. But one question I got for you is, Derrick Henry, man, like, he's got to be in the running for MVP, but is it even possible for a running back to beat out a quarterback in this day and age?
If he keeps this up, yeah. I know we kind of go through this every year with him the last couple of seasons, it feels like, and it's like, well, how can he not be in the conversation? And, he rushes for over 2,000 yards and he's just a monster. But if he keeps this up and they win that division and they get into the playoffs, of course he's going to be in the conversation. Now, the question is, how long does Arizona's winning streak keep up? How long does Kyler put up just astronomical fantasy football type numbers? Because no matter how good Derrick Henry is, if the Cardinals go 13-4, 14-3, and Murray's putting up numbers like this week in and week out, blowing teams out of the water, he's not going to beat out a quarterback like that. But outside of Kyler Murray, I'd argue that Derrick Henry's number 2 right now. I can't think of a quarterback like Aaron Rodgers. Green Bay's turning it around. They're starting to win ball games, and we'll get into that Chicago game as well. But he's not putting up magical numbers. Patrick Mahomes is putting up numbers, and that offense is moving the ball, but he's looking a little bit more earthly.
Pedestrian. Not pedestrian. That's a little too harsh. But
again, not the QB with the 68 rating. On Sunday. Not the QB that was threw for 180 yards. It wasn't him.
Before this last weekend, you had a legit case, and you still will at some point. It was a bad game, but
before this weekend, Justin Herbert was in the conversation as well. Justin Herbert looked pedestrian this weekend.
Yeah.
So I'd argue that it's Kyler 1 and Derrick Henry 2. But of course, if somehow Kyler and the Cardinals, come back down to earth a little bit, and Derrick Henry keeps up this type of season, I think this, if any year, it's this year.
Yeah.
I mean, dude, he's putting up numbers.
Yeah, it's crazy. And just one other thing, I know we'll probably have a conversation about the MVP candidates at some point, like a real conversation. Tom Brady's another guy that is right there. This 40-plus-year-old mother sucker. It just keeps he just keeps playing at an outstanding level, and he's right in that conversation as well. Matthew Stafford, Lamar Jackson is in there. I just wouldn't put him up there with those guys just yet. We mentioned Kyler Murray, right? So let's get into a few of our takeaways from Week 6. Well, no, let me ask you one more question about this game. Actually,
yeah,
is this a concerning loss for you when you're talking about Buffalo?
No, it was in Tennessee. It was a primetime night. I was actually watching it with George Ryder here at DSM Media, and it was just sometimes primetime games are weird. We really not that the game wasn't high scoring. It ended up putting up over 60 total points, but all throughout the game we kind of thought these offenses were going to turn it up from the beginning of the game, and they didn't. Yeah. It was weird. It was a primetime game. I did not like the play calling whatsoever from Buffalo's point of view. I just, you know what? It's in Tennessee. Derrick Henry got the better of you. Yeah. And that's it. Move on. I don't think it's concerning for Buffalo, but I do think it woke the Tennessee Titans up a little bit.
Yeah, I actually agree with everything you just said right there. It's a bigger win for Tennessee than it is a loss for Buffalo. And Sean McDermott's a great coach. I'm sure that he can get that turned around. He has a lot of experience, so hopefully he can take a few things away from that game and turn that around for Buffalo. Takeaways from Week 6. I'll go ahead and start with mine just because it is directly, regarding Kyler Murray. And you did mention him earlier when we were talking. So my first takeaway is that the Cardinals right now are clearly the best team in the league. They are a legit contender. And I know we've been kind of on the fence of saying that, the last few weeks. Some maybe are a little bit more sold on the Cardinals, but they're looking really good. They blew the doors off of Cleveland. Which, mind you, Cleveland is really beat up right now.
Yeah.
But that defense is still legit. They still have a great pass rush, for them to come out and drop 37 on Cleveland's head. So I still found it to be an impressive win for the Cardinals. And Kyler Murray, you mentioned him earlier. He's playing so clean, right? Like the turnovers are just not there. He has 4 interceptions on the season, 14 touchdowns. 67.6 QBR, which is third in the NFL, 1,741 yards. He's not running the football as much, which means he's not risking injury as much. And ultimately, I think it's turning their offense into a better product whenever he is pass first. So I'm very impressed with Kyler Murray so far. My question to you is, where does he rank? I know as far as MVP candidates, he may be number 1 right now. Where does he rank as far as quarterbacks right now in general, when we're speaking generally about quarterbacks and not necessarily most valuable player?
Right. That's a very tough question, because it's still like kind of difficult to put him in top 5 even. I know that sounds kind of crazy because you still have the GOAT playing at a high level. You see the way Aaron Rodgers is still playing at a high level. Matt Stafford in LA is playing at a high level. Obviously, before injury, Russell Wilson was playing at a high level. Patrick Mahomes has looked more pedestrian, but let's get it straight. He's still Patrick Mahomes. So It's very strange where, Dak Prescott's playing at a high level.
Yeah.
I'd say Kyler's probably around the top 5. I don't know if he's cracked it quite yet, but in terms of numbers and team wins, it is hard for me to say, oh, he's not top 5 when he's playing this well and his team's the only undefeated team in the NFL atop the best division in the NFL. But I would say probably around like 6-ish, maybe.
Yeah, I can get with you on that, just because you don't want to buy into this season too much so far.
Right.
There's a lot of variables that go into being one of those top 5 quarterbacks. So I could definitely agree with you there. I'll shoot it your way. What was one of your takeaways from Week 6?
This team's dynamic. Man, they really are offensively. I was just pulling up the box score, and when this offense with the dual threat quarterback that Kyler Murray is, when this offense can have a two-headed running back duo of James Conner and Chase Edmonds, punch off 20 rushes for over 110, 115 rushing yards, that's big time. When you have DeAndre Hopkins only snag 3 balls for 55 yards and still blow a team out of the water because 2 of those catches were for touchdowns.
Yeah.
That's big time. Rondale Moore, who's one of the, just burst onto the scene in week 1 this year, 3 catches for 16 yards, but you have AJ Green turning the clocks back and being their lead receiver for 79 yards and a tutty. Christian Kirk, 5 catches, 75 yards and a touchdown. They have so many weapons, so many playmakers. They have speed, they have size, they have athleticism. They are fantastic. The question, I think the reason we kind of held back from picking them to be this good before the season started was Kyler taking that next step as a pure passer in the NFL.
Yeah.
And he's shut everybody up so far. He has looked phenomenal. I think that's the biggest thing. This offense is dynamic, and they're not putting everything on Kyler.
Yeah.
Like I just said, they ran the ball over 20 times. I mean, this dude, Jay Ward, 4 carries. Rondale Moore had 3 carries.
Yeah.
So they're getting other guys involved. And he's still putting up crazy ass numbers.
And, that was, kind of what I hinted at earlier, but you put it in a better sense just because I mentioned, Kyler's not running the ball as much, which he's not putting his body at harm as much. We've seen him miss games, at least last year. I remember he missed a few games, and that kind of cost the Cardinals, a chance at the playoffs. He's with him not having to be involved as much in the running game. He's keeping his body healthy, and that's always a good thing. But you mentioned it, well balanced with the run game. They're getting their running backs involved, and that's definitely what matters in the run game. Zach Ertz is added to the mix as well now. Yeah. And I know, it maybe outside of Philly, even people in Philly were calling Zach Ertz wash. I think we've seen enough this season, and it's been very little amounts of exposure for Zach Ertz. But I've seen a lot of good things from Zach Ertz this season, and it's enough to make me think that he can really bounce back in Arizona.
You can just see
he's not going against number 1 corners anymore. Yeah, just go play.
Like, that's it. He can still play. He can still strap him on, lace up his cleats, and get out there and still play at a pretty damn high level. Everyone that was calling him washed up after a poor 2020 season really mind-boggled me. Shout out to Gint for that word. But, yeah, that's another, asset that they have now over the middle of the field for Kyler Murray. And he's just going to – if he's anything like he was in Philadelphia, at the minimum, he's just going to be a security blanket. On 3rd and short situations, when plays break down, he's going to be open somewhere over the middle of the field for Kyler to rely on. And that is deadly when you have DeAndre Hopkins, AJ Green, Christian Kirk, and Rondale Moore on the outside. Okay? Yeah. So this offense that was already maybe the most dynamic in the league, I know I keep throwing that word out there a lot when I'm describing them, but that's the only word that comes to mind. That's how good they are. Yeah. It makes them that much more dangerous. And then you have their defense, where their defense has allowed points some weeks, and other weeks they've really, they beat the doors off of Tennessee in week 1. Yeah. Their defense kind of makes timely plays. They get at the quarterback when it matters in a game. So their defense is opportunistic, and that really speaks to another team in the NFC that I want to talk about in a little bit. Because I think it's time we have a conversation about them, even though it's going to be a little painful. But yeah, man, I think it said more about the Cardinals. Obviously, the Browns are beat to shit. Nick Chubb didn't play. Then they lose Kareem Hunt, and OBJ's banged up, and they still didn't have Jarvis Landry back. And then Baker, I don't know if you saw he came back from it, but that shoulder that was already bothering him, the way he got tackled and landed and had a body fall on his shoulder with his arm extended on the ground did not look good. They are really beat up. But you are right. It was surprising to see their defense get picked apart like that. And I think that's just a testament to how good Kyler Murray and this Cardinals offense has been.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you. That's very well said. My next takeaway would be specifically that Ravens and Chargers game.
We got to get to that.
Mind you, I picked the Chargers as my upset of the week last week. And boy, did they turn out to prove me wrong. So I guess, the question I want to ask you, because we talked about it a little earlier with Lamar Jackson, very pedestrian game against the Chargers there. 167 yards, 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions, 8 carries, 51 yards. They still won, and they won by a lot. How good are the Ravens?
Yeah. I don't know. I still can't get a read on them. Now, listen, when we get to another segment, I'm going to give them their credit because they cracked a certain list that we're going to talk about later.
Yeah.
And it was impressive to see them win a game where, their defense obviously was the strong point of the game, but they didn't. It's not like they turned Justin Herbert over a bunch of times. They turned him over one time. I did not like the Chargers' aggressiveness in the first half.
Yeah.
He tried to be way too aggressive in his own territory early in the game when the game was still in reach. You do not do that. That even when the Ravens your defense holds and gives up 3, now you're down 17 instead of punting, and maybe you'd only be down 14 or whatever. So yeah. I did not like their aggressiveness, their play calling early in the game. Herbert was off 22 of 39. Like I mentioned, he did throw a pick, held under 200 yards passing. The biggest thing to me, dude, it was my God, I know they got down early, so it was hard to run the ball. But Justin Herbert was your lead rusher with 2 carries for 12 yards. Austin Eckler, 6 carries for 7 yards. And Kelly, 4 carries for 7 yards. The Baltimore Ravens outgained the LA Chargers, I think, 180 some rushing yards to 26 rushing yards for the Chargers. That's the difference alone. And the Chargers were unable to move the ball up and down the field against the Ravens. The Ravens offense was nothing special. I mean, their running game was special. Lamar, 19 to 27, 167 yards, a touchdown, 2 interceptions, 3 sacks, but they ran the ball at will again. Devontae Freeman, 53 yards. Lamar Jackson, 51 yards. Latavius Murray, 44 yards. Le'Veon Bell, 18 yards. They were to pound the rock down the Chargers' throat. The Chargers couldn't stop the run the whole game. The Ravens defense made a bunch of plays on third downs, getting the Chargers off the field. They got up early, and that's let's face it, that's when Lamar and this offense is their best, is when they get a lead early and they can just run down your throat. And that's what they were able to do. But but how good they are, I don't know, man. Do you let me ask you, did this win? Because it was an impressive win. We were speaking very highly of Justin Herbert and the LA Chargers, so I'm not trying to take it away from them and be like, one of those guys that speaks highly of a team, then the Ravens and Lamar beat them, and I'm like, oh, who cares? I'm not saying that at all, but I still don't know how to judge them because it's not like Lamar went out there and won you a game like he's going to need to do in the playoffs. It's not like your defense came away with 3 turnovers and they turned. I don't know. I think it was just a sloppy game for the Chargers. They let it get away early, and the Ravens played good in the second half.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's similar to – well, I guess I shouldn't say it's similar to the Bills-Titans game because that game is a lot closer. But just from my perspective, per se, of the Chargers versus the Ravens, I think it's a huge win for the Ravens.
Yeah.
But for the Chargers, something was off that day. I don't expect them to come out and lay an egg like that again this season at all. Like you said, just very uncharacteristic, things that happened in that game for the Chargers. When you're talking about 26 rushing yards, Austin Eckler only, 6 carries?
Yeah.
That's very uncharacteristic for the Chargers. And you've seen their coach, Brandon Staley. He's hyped up the run game before, which is why it's so puzzling to me. And then you mentioned just the risks, the unnecessary risks that you're taking against a Baltimore team that loves to play with the lead. It just shows that, to me, it shows a little bit, maybe he's just overly confident in his offense, but to me, it shows a lack of trust in your defense to stop Lamar Jackson. And the Chargers defense is pretty good. So, as far as trusting your defense, he's just got to, look at this game. You don't want to throw it out because you got to take some takeaways from this game and really adjust to make sure that doesn't happen again. But overall, I think it's a huge win for the Ravens. The Ravens are good. And, they're beat up right now. They're getting, guys like Rashad Bateman back. There's some guys they've lost for this season they won't get back, but they've created, a plethora of weapons in that running back group between Latavius Murray, Devontae Freeman. They got Le'Veon Bell back there, which I know all of these guys are not the greatest running backs, but when you put them together, that's a pretty good group. When they
all scored.
They all scored, right? So, and then I guess the good and the bad for the Ravens is that Lamar Jackson played that bad and you still won. But it's also the fact that Lamar Jackson played that bad, right? So you got to find your balance with that as well. But the Ravens,
that's my biggest thing, right? This wasn't a statement win by the Ravens in which Lamar Jackson came out and was dominant and they beat the Chargers and he said, I'm the MVP. Stop talking about Justin Herbert, blah, blah, blah. No, they beat the doors off of Justin Herbert, but Lamar had a horrible passing day. Like 3 sacks, 2 INTs, a 68 rating. Like that 19 to 27 for like 150 yards. That's terrible. So that's why I'm confused. Not confused, but that's why it's hard to answer the question of what did you learn? Because all right, a good team win.
Yeah,
you're not going to win in the playoffs when Lamar plays like that.
Yeah.
So that's what I need to believe in the Ravens and how good they are. I need to see them win games where Lamar Jackson plays like an MVP type of player, and that's not what I saw on Sunday. The rest of the games were pretty weird, man. A lot of blowouts on Sunday. Obviously, the Bengals go into Detroit and take down the Lions 34-11. The Chiefs roll into Washington and beat them 31-13. The Colts take care of business in Indy 31-3. The Rams against the Giants 38-11. Obviously, the Ravens 34-6. Cardinals 37-14. A lot of blowouts in Week 6. One of those I want to touch on.
Yeah,
I can't get a read on it. The Chiefs go into Washington. They drop 31. Their offense is putting up points week in and week out. They're moving the ball at will. But Patrick Mahomes just doesn't look like Patrick Mahomes this year. And I don't know what it is. A lot of his turnovers are coming. Now, he's had a couple drops. Like there was one on Sunday that went through Tyreek Hill's hands and was a pick. And I've seen that happen at least 1 or 2 other times this year. But he's also had at least 3 or 4 interceptions where it's just boneheaded, getting sacked, trying to make that everybody watch me, put this top number 1 on the top Sports Center top 10, like ridiculous plays, and they're not working this year. And it's really I think it's really obviously that defense is terrible, but I think it's part of the reason this team is about an average 500 ball club right now. And I just want to get your thoughts on how Patrick Mahomes has looked. Because like I said, it's tough to criticize when they go on the road and beat a team 31-13. But he put up almost 400 yards, but again, 2 interceptions, 3 sacks. He's got 1 fumble. How many interceptions does he have this year? 7 or 8 already. So while they're 3-3 and he's putting up numbers, he's turning the ball over at a high clip.
Yeah, no, you're exactly right. And despite the gaudy passing yards, it's just not a clean game. And it's kind of what we talked about earlier with Kyler Murray and what he's, changed about his game. He's having clean games now. And Patrick Mahomes just really hasn't been able to put that together so far this season.
Because that works against the Washington football team. That works against the Philadelphia Eagles.
Right.
That doesn't work come playoff time. That doesn't work against Tom Brady and the Buccaneers. That's not going to work against the Cardinals. That's not going to work against the Rams.
Yeah.
It's not going to work against the Bills. So, it's weird, man.
And we've seen it so far this season, right? They've lost to the Bills. They've lost to the Chargers. They've lost to the Ravens as well. All 3 contenders in the AFC. That's not a good look. And then when you come out, I know they ended up blowing the Washington football team out, but it was a decently close game, fairly throughout the game. So Patrick Mahomes, he's got to just clean it up. He's got to take it back down to fundamentals. Stop trying to make the crazy plays. But the only 2 things that I can think of that maybe pulling him a little bit out of his element, making him make some, risky, bad decisions, is the fact, you mentioned it, the defense is so bad. Maybe he feels like he has to make up for that and score a lot of points. I'm not sure exactly if that's the case, or if it's just the fact that he sees all these other quarterbacks getting all the attention and he's just trying to rein it back in. Now, that would be super egotistical. I'm not going to really accuse him of that.
Right.
But just 2 things that cross my mind as far as, why such a talented quarterback that has shown us so much early in his career is just going through a little bit of a plateau here. But it happens to the best of us. I think it's a good learning lesson for the casual fan, right? You have quarterbacks that go through struggles sometimes. It's very simple. Sometimes they can't get out of their own head. Sometimes they got other things going on. And these are athletes in general, but, even your favorite athletes can go through a struggle from time to time. I do expect Patrick Mahomes to bounce back at some point, but you just hope that it's not too late as far as how bad that defense is. I haven't got a chance to take a look at their upcoming schedule, but they got to turn it around, right? Like the Chargers, yeah, they lost to the Ravens. The Chargers are a really good team. Raiders are 4-2 right now, right? Or am I wrong on that?
No, I think they're 4-2.
They're 4-2. Yeah, I remember because we're 2-4. They're 4-2. We play them this weekend. So the Raiders are right there, right behind the Chargers, if not with the same record, I believe now. And then, the Chiefs got to keep afloat with them. So that division is no joke. Even the Broncos are 3-3 right now. So nobody's out of it in that division. So I'm with you. It's hard to diagnose what's wrong with Patrick Mahomes because he's such a good quarterback. And usually we just don't see this from him.
All right, man. I want to have an uncomfortable conversation with you as an Eagles fan. How good are the Dallas Cowboys? We've put it off. We haven't really spoke on them outside of Eagles, Cowboys, Monday Night Football. We've put it off. It's 6 weeks in. They've won 5 of 6. They're good, dude. Like, let me just give a message to all the Eagles fans out there that have some sort of hope with this upcoming schedule getting easier for the Eagles, and they maybe we can win the division. No, you can't. No, you can't. The Cowboys are rolling. They're that good, and I think it's time we have to acknowledge it, as painful as that is.
Yeah, and it's kind of. I hate to say it. It's what we've kind of. I don't want to use the term scared, but it's kind of what we've been scared of in previous years of what the Dallas Cowboys can be.
Right.
And
because we've always known what the offense is.
The talent is
every
there.
year. Like when you hear Stephen A. Smith say it, it's funny, but it's always been the truth, though.
Yeah.
What can go wrong will go wrong when it comes to the Dallas Cowboys, and that's just not the case right now. Now, I'm not saying this won't be a repeat of 2016 where they win 12 or 13 games and then they get booted in the first round of the playoffs. I don't know. That's TBD. But
and
as of right now,
really tough.
Yeah, as of right now, they are a good-ass football team. And what I'll say is Dak Prescott has come back and has had really no hiccups. I mean, dude, 36 of 51 for 445 and 3 touchdowns. The two-headed monster of Zeke, who, by the way, looks like his old self for everyone.
They figured that out as well.
And washed up. And Tony Pollard comes in and gives a nice change of pace type of running back. And they just kill you over, like, on the outside or inside, dude. When you have CeeDee Lamb, 150 yards and 2 tutties in the game winner. You have Amari Cooper still playing at a high level. And they just get their tight ends involved. Like Dalton Schultz and Blake Jarwin just find ways to get open on third downs and in the red zone. It's uncanny. And that defense that I and everyone's was making fun of, they're still not a good defense. But guess what, Scott? They make timely plays. They turn teams over.
Very opportunistic.
Yes. And when you have maybe the defensive player of the year right now on the outside and Trevon Diggs, who had another pick for a pick 6 on Sunday. Now, first of all, talk about a crazy-ass ending in a crazy-ass game because he gets a pick 6. Everyone's going nuts. And I watched it. I was obviously at home. I wasn't in Foxborough watching the game. But when I tell you I wasn't sure Jones was going there. But when I tell you from the moment it happened, I saw them double move Trevon Diggs. Like I saw him bite. And I couldn't. And then I lost the receiver. I didn't see where he went on the field because the camera wasn't in view. Yeah. And Jones unloads it. And I'm like, oh my God, they just double moved him. And boom, touchdown, right back down. And then here comes Dak, right back down. Tie ball game, overtime. Give me the ball. See you later. Like they are a good football team. That offense is one of the best in the league, and that defense is, you summed it up perfectly. They're opportunistic.
Yeah,
that's a recipe for success in this day and age in the NFL. That the Chiefs that won the Super Bowl a couple years ago, their defense wasn't good, but they made plays when it mattered. They got after the quarterback when it mattered. They turned you over when it mattered. and they had probably the best offense in football. Well, you're kind of seeing that play out right now in Dallas a little bit.
And right now they're playing without DeMarcus Lawrence, which, Micah Parsons and Randy Gregory have looked amazing as well. Randy Gregory is a freaking monster. I mean, we've made fun of him in the past for his off the field stuff. When he's on the field, he's a scary dude. And I saw him. I think it was Mac Jones that he just rocked for a sack and a strip fumble. But this Cowboys team is looking very dangerous. The offense, you can pick your poison, right? Like, you can try to stop the run. They're going to expose you in the pass game. And we saw it firsthand. Obviously, the Eagles don't have a great defense, but we saw that firsthand of them doing whatever they want on offense because the defense is just on their back heels. And you talked about Trayvon Diggs. I mean, yeah, he gets beat by the double move. That's going to happen when you're a corner that gets a lot of interceptions. But he's getting interceptions in pick sixes at like a ridiculous rate. You mentioned that he is the leading candidate for Defensive Player of the Year, which you just do not see from cornerbacks very often. And he's putting on a Deion Sanders type of performance so far this season. It's kind of ridiculous. But, I'm not going to take anything away from him. The only worry I guess you have as a Cowboys fan is that calf strain. They have a bye week right in time for that, so he can go ahead, rest, get right for for that next week there. And it's a scary team. It's a scary team. You do not want to play Dallas. You definitely don't want to play them in Jerry World. And as far as going into the playoffs, as long as they can stay healthy, I'm not going to sit here and hype the Cowboys up too much because I'm starting to get sick. But this team is very dangerous. And as an Eagles fan, I'm praying.
Yeah, man. That's why the people have to come to Turf Talk for their football talk, because you're listening to Eagles fans give credit to the Dallas Cowboys. You're not going to find that anywhere else. But you know why? That's because we're realists, Scott. What am I going to say? The 5-1 Dallas Cowboys are garbage. They suck. Blah blah blah. No, I'm not going to be that Eagles fan. They're a good football team.
If the Eagles were 5-1, I may say that.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
No, I'm kidding, dude.
If the Eagles were 5-1 and the Cowboys were 4-2, 5-1, I'd be like, bring it. F the Cowboys. Blah blah blah. No, the Eagles stink. The rest of the division stinks, and the Cowboys are running away with it in the first 6 weeks, and they're looking good. Okay. I'm not saying they're going to the Super Bowl. I don't believe that, but they're a good freaking football team. All right. Yeah. Moving on. I think we covered just about everything.
The one thing I wanted to say is that, I just wanted to declare it. I am fully on the Bengals bandwagon. I'm a Joey B stan. Love Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase. Everybody was talking shit on Jamar Chase in the preseason. This dude is electric. That combo is electric. They got a lot of other pieces in that offense, and their defenses look great. Got a huge test against the Baltimore Ravens this weekend.
Yeah.
So I will be keeping my eye on that game, but just wanted to throw that in there. I'm on the Bengals.
Well, then guess what, buddy? Guess what we're talking about on Sunday morning? The Bengals and the Ravens.
I already had slated my game of the week, I swear.
All right, man. Let's get into our top 5 power rankings before we get into this Thursday night football matchup between the Denver Broncos and the Cleveland Browns. I'll just go through it real quick. I don't want to spend too much time on this because sometimes we let it get carried away here. I'll go down from 5 to 1, and then I'll throw it to you. All right. Cool. At number 5 right now, I have the team and the man that still owns Chicago, and that is Aaron Rodgers and the Green Bay Packers. They haven't, I don't think they've put it all together quite yet, but they're winning football games at the top of their division. And Aaron Rodgers and that team are starting to get back to form after everyone, and myself included, was like, what the hell is going on after a week 1 beatdown against Jameis Winston and the Saints? Well, that's far in the past, my friend. Number 4, I said I would give credit where credit's due. Lamar Jackson and the Baltimore Ravens. I mean, how can you not have them in your top 5 right now with the way that team is playing? I believe they're 5-1 as well, right? Or are they 4-2?
They are 5-1.
Either way, they are atop of a very tough AFC North division. Before last week, I will give credit. Lamar has had some suspect games, but he's also putting up ridiculous MVP-type numbers. That defense, that rushing attack, they're number 4. Number 3, I got the defending champs and the GOAT Tom Brady and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Obviously I could have them 1 or 2 as well, but I'm just going to put them 3 because I think the other 2 teams have the advantage right now because the LA Rams got back to form with a big time beatdown in New York over the Giants. That defense was smothering. I mean, what do you expect against Daniel Jones? But my God, I think they picked off Danny Dimes 3 times. He put the ball on the ground. The Giants were a disaster thanks to the LA Rams. And at number 1, I think, we're going to agree here. And anyone who doesn't agree right now, you got to be a fan of a different team or their rival, is the Arizona Cardinals and the MVP right now, Kyler Murray. They're dominant. They are just beating the dog shit out of teams week in and week out. That is my updated top 5 power rankings in the NFL. Scott, you're up.
Yes, sir. So I'm kind of on the same page as you. I think I have one team that's kind of off from yours there. So I'll go ahead and start at 5 as well. I do have the Baltimore Ravens at number 5 for me. 5-1, huge wins. What I will say, Cowboys and Packers are right there. They're right on the heels of the Ravens for me. They're coming, but the Ravens wins have been pretty good wins. They beat the Chargers, who I consider a contender. They beat the Chiefs. And then they have beat a Colts team also, which I consider a good win because this Colts team has looked pretty good the last couple of weeks. Yeah. And Carson Wentz looked great against the Ravens, and they were able to overcome that. Number 4, I do have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers at 5-1. Obviously, they come out of Philly, Thursday night football game. There's a little bit of buzz with that game. Obviously, nobody really thought the Eagles would beat the Buccaneers. But there was just a lot of stuff in that week that just kind of wasn't going Tampa Bay's way as far as injuries, short week, that type of thing. They overcame that very easily, took care of business in Philadelphia, and they're sitting at 5-1. They're coasting, right? Like I hate to use that term, but they're not. They don't have to worry too much about the regular season. They should be able to take control of that division very handedly. And they're going to win most of their games. Let's be honest. They're that talented on offense and defense. So the Bucs are looking great. Number 3, I still have the Buffalo Bills in my top 5. It is concerning, right? It is concerning, that loss. But what I will say, just simple things can kind of fix that. They were one play, maybe even 1 inch from winning, right? Maybe one bad decision from winning on the goal line there, just by calling that play at the end. Still a very talented offense. Josh Allen is still playing at an MVP level, and I expect them to turn it right back around. Number 2, I'm with you. The LA Rams. I mean, we've been talking about them all season. Still my favorite to win the NFC, even though I do have the Cardinals at number 1 this week, and for the last couple of weeks, by the way. The thing about the Rams is that if you watch their games, they're still missing little things. You know what I mean? Like Matthew Stafford is still missing little throws here and there that could be touchdowns, literally.
Right.
And they're still blowing teams away. So once they fix up those little things and they become the team that we really know them to be, which, mind you, their defense had a great showing this week. They haven't been great throughout the season. They're going to pick it up at some point. This Rams team hasn't even hit their ceiling yet. And that's exciting if you're a Rams fan. And then the Arizona Cardinals, there's really not much negative you can say about them. Obviously, people had questions about their defense. People had questions about if Kyler Murray can sustain this play. They look, when I think about, going into a game against Arizona, what do you take away from them? And how does that work in your favor? Because they got an answer for everything. And I'm interested to see. They're going to lose at some point. I'm interested to see how that loss plays out and if it draws a lot of concerns and if that's, them getting figured out at that point, or they could just end up laying an egg. You know what I mean? So it'll be interesting to see how their season plays out, but they are off to a great start.
I'm with you, man. Obviously, top 2, top 3, we have the same.
Yeah.
Mine, at least for mine, I have 4 of 5 being in the NFC. Yours is 3 of 5 being in the NFC.
Kind of crazy.
We will see if the Super Bowl champ comes out of the NFC this year. But moving on to one more segment before we get into tonight's matchup and ultimately make our Thursday night picks, a little pigskin picks review for last week. I was 2-0 on the week with the Houston Colts the Indianapolis Colts beating the Houston Texans. That was my lock. And then I had the Las Vegas Raiders over the Denver Broncos as my upset. You had the Rams over the Giants, and then you had the Chargers laying an egg against the Ravens. You were 1-1 last week. That brings the season. Well, I didn't hear your pick, so I chalked it up as what I thought it would be. Did you pick the Eagles or Bucks last Thursday?
Oh, I did pick the Bucks. Yeah.
Okay. So on the year, we are both 6-0 on Thursday night matchups. I am 16-1 throughout the year for Pigskin Picks. You are 15-2 on the year for Pigskin Picks. If only we were so patient enough to just bet the games that we pick on the show, and we'd be up thousands of dollars so far.
What the hell's up with that, man? I'm losing money every single week.
Me too. And here we are. We're almost undefeated throughout the week through 6 weeks picking games.
You're right. I got to really take that to the table and really start rethinking what I'm doing here, man. That's a great point.
But yeah, just a little recap there, and then we will obviously our Week 7 Thursday night matchup. It's going to be interesting to see where we go with this one. As of right now, the Cleveland Browns are 1.5-point favorites at home against the Broncos. So let's get into that matchup. Boy, Teddy Two Gloves versus Case Keenum. About 55 total injuries between the two teams. I'm not exaggerating. It's over 50 injuries between the two teams right now. Obviously, like we said, the Browns missing their quarterback and their dual backfield in Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt and Baker Mayfield. That is definitely going to hinder that offense. Neither defense has played well over the last 3 or so weeks. I don't know, man. We might be staring at a primetime game that lays an egg, because primetime games have been great so far through 6 weeks in the NFL. Really haven't had any complaints. This one, with the injuries, not looking so good. What are your opening thoughts on tonight's matchup?
Yeah, the injuries. I mean, that's the storyline, right? No, you mentioned Baker, Hunt, Chubb. It looks like OBJ is going to be good to go. I don't know. Has Bridgewater been ruled active yet? I haven't seen.
I think he's good to go. Yeah.
He had like 2 injuries he's dealing with right now. One in the quadriceps and something with his shoulder or his hand or something.
No, I believe he's good.
Judy is still out for the Broncos. Bradley Chubb is still out as well. But what I would say, the Browns, you need to win this game. The Broncos, I'm not very high on them in general, especially in that division. They are 3-3. They dropped 3 in a row, actually. So, I'm not sold that the Broncos are really in it this season. Yes, they started 3-0. They played some bad teams. But the Browns, they got to keep pace with the Bengals and the Ravens. Now, luckily, the Ravens and the Bengals play each other this weekend, so that bodes well for the Browns. But the Browns need to get this W, regardless of if Baker's playing. Now, I've heard, people say, Case Keenum, he's been there. He's had his greatest time with, so-and-so. And is it Kevin Stefanski over in Minnesota? We saw Case Keenum in Minnesota, bro. I don't know what these people are smoking, because that guy is not it.
Blake Bortles was also in a conference championship game that year, so come on, fellas, be better.
I think the Browns, they need to heavily rely on the. I shouldn't say heavily rely on the ground game, even though with those 2 backs out, they still got a decent offensive line. But I do believe their 2 tackles are beat up as well. But they definitely got to balance out the offense for Case Keenum. He's not a guy that's going to be able to stand back there and sling it without making mistakes. They do get Jarvis Landry back. As I said, OBJ is good to go, but not a guy that you want back there throwing 30-plus times. And the Broncos do have a pretty decent secondary. I know they got raided by Derek Carr last weekend, but Derek Carr is a substantially better quarterback than Case Keenum. And you hope, if you're the Broncos, you got to get some pressure on Case Keenum, make him force some mistakes, give your offense some easy some easy opportunities against that Browns defense. This is a game where the Browns defense needs to win them the game, right?
Yeah, man. But I'm taking in everything you said, but I just can't get my mind off of one thing.
Yeah.
And that is my 1-game lead in Pigskin Picks is going to be up for grabs this week, because going off of what you just said, I know your pick and I'm on the opposite end of this one. So we got something to look for
Interesting.
tonight. Got something to
Dylan,
look
I'm not
for
gonna lie to you. I
tonight.
did not pick the game before I came into this conversation.
No?
I did not, but I may make it interesting.
Oh yeah, let's do it.
Because I'm at a toss-up. I'm at a 50-50 here. I really.
I mean, you bring up great points.
The
Denver Broncos were never a good team. They started off hot 3-0 with a terrible schedule. Teddy Two Gloves has come down to earth. Their defense has come back down to earth a little bit. They've battled injuries. Obviously, Jerry Jeudy's been out for a couple weeks now. I think he went out in that Giants game in like week 1 or 2. So they're not a very overly talented group. But that Cleveland Browns team is beat up.
Yeah.
Dude. And normally I'd say, okay, well, they're missing their running backs and they're missing Baker. But Jarvis Landry comes back. They got 2 stud tight ends. OBJ's back. Maybe if Keenum comes in and plays, serviceable, that defense is good enough to slow down or stop Teddy Bridgewater and the Denver Broncos. But that defense has been subpar for the last 3 or so weeks, giving up like 80+ points in their last 2 games, I believe. Now, again, that's against Justin Herbert and the Chargers, and then Kyler Murray and the Cardinals. So you got to give them some leeway there, right? But they haven't looked good, and that becomes a little bit demoralizing when you get punched in the mouth like that 2 weeks in a row. I think it's going to be a low-scoring, grinded-out type of game. And I'm not a Teddy Bridgewater guy, but I'll tell you what, I'll take Teddy Bridgewater 7 days out of the week and twice on Sundays over Case Keenum, even with his 2 gloves. Okay?
And when I was going through, and I did foolishly play some parlays tonight.
Oh, so did I.
I'm addicted to gambling. I'll admit it. I have no choice whenever there's a sporting event going on, especially in the NFL.
Well, what are we listen, this is where the NFL and DraftKings and FanDuel, they partner up when they make the schedule, right? Because what else are we supposed to do on a Thursday night when the Browns and the Broncos are playing each other? Now, they didn't see these injuries upcoming, but come on, what are we going to do? We're going to sit at home and just, play with our thumbs? No.
Right. And what I wanted to share with you is that, in my gut, I have this gut feeling that Teddy Bridgewater is not going to finish the game just because I mentioned he does have 2 injuries he's dealing with. So
Drew Lock has to come in.
Yeah. And what I was going to say is I'll take Drew Lock over Case Keenum.
Yeah. Yeah. Don't let Drew Lock be listening to no young Jeezy on the sideline. Because if he is, he's coming in, dialed in. Let me tell you.
Yes, man. And I will take Drew Lock over Case Keenum.
Yeah.
Do not get it twisted. But yeah, no, it's a toss-up for me tonight. There's just so many question marks.
Case Keenum is going to light Denver on fire tonight, right now. That's coming, right?
Because we talked all this shit.
Oh, I'll take Teddy Bridgewater. I'll take Tim Tebow. I'll take anybody over Case Keenum. He'll come in and throw for 320 and 3 touchdowns tonight.
Man, if he does, my goodness,
so you brought up let's talk a little gambling when it comes to this game, Scott.
Yeah.
What kind of parlays you going with tonight? You going? Are you leaning game? I'm staying away from picking the game.
I stayed away from the game.
Of props tonight. You got any TD scores you like to find the end zone tonight?
So I do have Dearness Johnson. He's the running back that's just going to be filling in for Cleveland tonight. They run the ball a lot, so I imagine they won't, cut that trend. If they do get down in the red zone, I expect them to get in the end zone. The other one that I had Melvin Gordon as well.
So do I.
I like Javonte Williams in that backfield, but it seems like Melvin Gordon has got the bulk of the TDs this season, so they like him in the red zone apparently. Which rightfully so. He's a bigger guy. He can really push the line forward. What else did I have? Cortland Sutton. I just had him over 40 receiving yards. Nothing crazy.
Dude, we're all around the same tonight. I don't know if that's good news or bad news for you.
You got OBJ in the mix?
Hell no, I don't.
No, me neither. Jarvis Landry?
Nope.
No. I went Jarvis Landry over 25 yards. That's one.
You're not going to be able to read the words. I just want you to see the page because I write down my bets.
Yeah.
Just to keep track. Two of them are baseball parlays, but
I
that's
feel you though.
that's what we got here. I think the one I like the most though, there's two. So one I firmly believe that Melvin Gordon's finding the end zone tonight at some point. So I have a Melvin Gordon anytime touchdown scorer. Cortland Sutton over 50 receiving yards. Melvin Gordon over 40 rushing yards. Noah Fant over 25 receiving
I
yards.
like that.
25 wins 196. Then this one is a big one. Browns plus 8.5. Now I do like the Denver Broncos to win this game, but they're not going to win by 9+ points.
Right.
Melvin Gordon, the over and alt over of 30.5 points for the game. Melvin Gordon anytime touchdown scorer, and Melvin Gordon over 34.5 rushing yards. This was an odds boost on DraftKings.
Okay. Yeah, that's not bad at all.
$250 pays out $1,937.
And it's like, if they can't get that, then what's going on in this game?
Right, exactly, bro. Like, if Melvin Gordon can't get 35 or more rushing yards tonight.
Like the touchdown, you had the touchdown in there as well, right?
Yes.
So if that would be the only thing, but like I said, he's been kind of a touchdown machine this season. Because I know I have him in fantasy in a couple leagues as well.
Yeah, I hit a big one. Now this isn't a football bet, but got me back on track. I was red hot when hockey started back up, right? Like literally 7-1 in my first 8 hockey picks. Got lit back up. NFL brought me back down to earth because I just keep trying to find that big parlay. I can't help myself. The Chargers also cost me $650 in winnings over 2 parlays. So thank you for your upset pick there, Scott. But then Monday night, dude, it was amazing. It was like a 3-leg parlay for the Red Sox Astros. It was over 9 runs, Kike Hernandez 2+ hits, and Kyle Tucker to hit a home run. And it was Kike just got a second hit. Kyle Tucker was up to bat. It was already 9-0 in like the 5th, and Kyle Tucker hit a 3-run home run out of Fenway. That was nice.
Right.
That was nice. So
did you have any beers in you at that point?
Oh yeah. Yeah. Now we're back at it, baby. But yeah, man. All right.
What about, before we move on, dude, any NBA action? Because NBA always does me dirty with the parlay.
I stayed away tonight because I didn't feel comfortable with any of the games, to be quite honest with you. Like, to put money, like the first game or two for any team is tough. Like,
yeah,
I had the Lakers -3 the other night. You think that hit? No, right? I like the Nets to beat the Bucks the other night. Did that happen? Hell no. So tonight, like you got Luka and the Mavs taking on Trae Young and the Hawks. That's going on right now.
It's awesome, man.
You got Giannis and the Bucks in their second game versus Jimmy and Kyle Lowry and the Heat in their first game, and then you got the Clippers minus Kawhi, I believe, going to Golden State to play Golden State, who just beat LeBron and the Lakers.
Well, yeah.
So I'm staying away from the games. I did really like the over. Obviously, the game already started. I liked the over under for the Hawks. Mavs was at 226. I like the over in that game. I think there's going to be a lot of points scored in that one. But outside of that, I really tried to stay away.
Getting into any Sixers action tomorrow?
Yeah.
Got to. Got to.
Just remind me.
Got to take the Sixers.
Remind me to never put Danny Green in any more of my parlays. I had one last night. He wasn't the only leg that I missed, but I had Danny Green 2+ made threes and over 7.5 points. My man had one shot in the entire game. I'm like, come on, bro. You gotta give me better look than that.
I had a couple different parlays on that game, and Seth Curry, I think, cost me all of them. I don't think I had Danny in any of them. Yeah, Seth, I don't know. Seth might, I believe he only had like 7 points, honestly. And
I think he had more than that, didn't he?
I mean, I can look it up really quick.
He didn't have a lot, but I think Seth's over-under was at like 14 or 15, so you probably had the over, and I don't know if he went over.
Well, at least 2 of them, I only had him with like over 12 points, I swear. Yeah. Let me take a look here. So the Pelicans. But everything else, I had like Maxey over 14.5.
Yeah, so did I.
Yeah, Seth Curry had 10 points. So I had him like right at the 11.5. And then I had a couple where he was at the 13.5 or 14.5. But yeah, they cost me. Korkmaz stole all their points. I think I had Embiid. No, Embiid cost me too. I had Embiid over 25, I think, as well. So it wasn't just Seth.
Yeah, man. I would love to sit here. I'd love to sit here and talk about that Sixers win last night, but that's for another time and another show.
Sure.
Before we wrap up tonight and lead you guys into Thursday night football, Scotty, you know where I'm going. I got the Broncos tonight. Outright, I thought I liked the underdog in this one. Not a fan of Case Keenum. Too many injuries on the offensive side for the Browns. Ugly, low-scoring type of game. I do like the Broncos. Who do you got?
I'm going to make it interesting, man. I'm going to go Browns tonight. This is the first time that we have disagreed on a Thursday night.
Oh, boy.
Wow.
Are we getting? Is it tied up, or do I extend the lead to 2 games?
Oh man, it's going to be interesting. But as far as the Browns win, it's going to be a defensive win. They're going to need to force some turnovers, put Case Keenum in good positions, give him opportunities to score the football. I do agree with you. It's going to be a low-scoring one.
All right, there you have it. The pigskin pick-off is up for grabs this week on this, what it's seeming to be boring Teddy Two Gloves versus Case Keenum Thursday night match.
Got to make it interesting somehow.
Absolutely.
Man.
That is going to wrap up this week's episode of Turf Talk, or this Thursday edition episode of Turf Talk. We'll be right back at it live here on DSM Media, streaming to you guys live through our Facebook, Twitch, Twitter, and YouTube channels on Sunday morning at 10 a.m., getting you ready for a full slate of Week 7 games and the Eagles and Raiders preview. For myself, you can follow me on Twitter at DylanJD98. And, of course, my co-host, give him a follow on Twitter at Scotty Drown. And why not, while you're at it, just hit that follow button at DSM_media. Hit that subscribe button on our YouTube channel. I know Scotty is in the middle of doing a very big giveaway with Scotty Talks NBA. Joel Embiid jersey giveaways in the mid is going on right now.
Yep.
And we have a ton more giveaways to do. We still are in the process of getting our previous winner. I'm having some issues with the online order because, of course, they go out of stock right after we do the giveaway. But we'll be getting that to him very shortly. And, of course, like I said, I'm wearing it right now. Very comfortable, very nice, fits great, great design. Our merch is up on tpublic.com. If you go to DSM Media on Twitter, click the Linktree link in our bio, and our TPublic account is the first link that pops up. We've added 3 more designs to it today. There is a sale going on right now. What's it, 35% off? 35% off for all merch on tpublic.com right now. So head on over there, DSM Media Store. If you want to support us, if you want to support any of the shows or the guys overall, we got a lot of big things coming in the works. And of course, head over to manscaped.com and use our promo code DSM for 20% off and free worldwide shipping, and help us out there as well. For myself, for Scotty, for Turf Talk, and for DSM Media, have a great night.